when they talk about you, they say Antonio Brown needs mental help. Do you feel like you need help?
We all need mental health.
Some people speculate that Vontaze Burfict's hit has adversely impacted the behavior after that. Is that true?
You want me to say it? Play the game long enough, everyone get hit hard. Just the emotional problem. What do you think with a guy who been playing ball since 6? You know, I'm from Little City. I grew up in that verse area.
Would you say that your life is out of control in any way?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Hello, everybody. This is Greg Stewart with Stewing the Pot. And you heard that audio clip. You heard what she said to Antonio Brown. By the way, today's podcast is exactly about these great athletes that have made an impact on our lives in so many ways. They become role models. They become big parts of our life. And sometimes we forget what they went through to get there. And there's 3 pictures there. Josh Sills, Ray Carruth, and Antonio Brown. And one of the key factors that we're going to focus on, a little bit of each of them, but our main focus will be on Antonio Brown because, well, he's in the media again, he's in the world again in reference to having troubles. And these troubles continue to follow them. And we're going to connect on these troubles of the areas of his life. And as you heard him say in the audio, you heard him say, you know, was this an impact of a hit? But when you hear the storyline, when you hear the connection of what he went through to become the athlete he is in the areas of life that he lived, does this to you mean that this is something he developed along the way from his life environment and not really an impact of what he sustained from a vicious hit in football? I want you to be the judge as we stew the pot today. So again, what happens when you're an NFL superstar and you get caught in the limelight, and then your past or experiences that you have moving forward, that you start connecting with people that maybe you normally wouldn't, whatever it is, the darkness that comes along sometimes sports, what happens when that hits you? Well, that's what this episode is about. And what I'd like to start with, there's 3 points I want to connect on in reference, or 3 athletes is really what I should say. And we're going to start with Josh Sills, wrongfully accused or allegations in reference to rape. I would like you to listen to this.
New details tonight. An NFL player for the Philadelphia Eagles has been indicted in Ohio on 1 count of rape and 1 count of kidnapping. Joshua Sills is facing the charge in Guernsey County after a 2019 incident. According to the Ohio Attorney General's office, Sills held the victim against her will, and the crime was immediately reported. Sills is listed as an offensive lineman for the NFC champion Eagles.
So you listen to the audio clip in reference to Josh Sills. And that case is now over with and done. Josh was acquitted. There was evidence that showed that the intimacy was consensual, despite what the woman who claimed kidnapping or basically rape, I believe, was the actual charge in this. But Josh was acquitted. He was reinstated to play back in football. But this is clearly one of those other cases compared to what we're going to connect on next. And what we're going to connect on next is Ray Carruth and his pregnant girlfriend, and how Ray Carruth, a North Carolina or Carolina Panthers football player, wide receiver, did not want his girlfriend at the time to carry their baby, or he was planning to end the relationship, but whatever it was enough for Ray Carruth to hire a hitman to kill his girlfriend. Now, his son lived, but his son unfortunately suffered from cerebral palsy after the accident and what happened to his mother. Let's listen to this segment here, this one part in reference to now that Ray Caruth is getting an opportunity and is now out of jail. And now, even though the clip you're going to hear was basically post release, but he does want to have a relationship and apparently, I believe, does today. But how does that make you feel? Does Josh deserve to be back in the NFL because he was cleared in reference to a rape? Should Ray Caruth be on the streets after having his girlfriend murdered? Now, again, there was not enough evidence, and a lot of people who I spoke to on both sides said, well, she must have suffered some kind of trauma. But some people said, well, it was money. This is in reference to Josh Sills. But he was free in the court of law, and they found proof, evidence that stated that it was consensual opposed to a rape. Now, Ray Caruth, slipping back into that, does he deserve to be free? Listen to the segment, make your own decisions in reference to what you hear. Listen to this.
Former NFL player Ray Caruth breaking his silence, speaking out from behind bars, apologizing for his role in the 1999 murder of his then pregnant girlfriend. ABC's Gio Benitez is here with more. And Gio, Ray also says he wants to be part of their son's life when he's released.
Yeah, that's right, Robin. He does. Caruth will be released in just months, and he wants custody of his son, the son who was almost killed in the shooting that Caruth planned, the shooting that killed the boy's mother.
Touchdown, Ray Caruth!
He was a star on the football field playing for the Carolina Panthers, but that all changed in 1999 when Ray Caruth was arrested in connection with the murder of his pregnant girlfriend. Police say he hired someone to shoot Sharika Adams. He was found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder, spending the past 17 years behind bars. His unborn son survived the shooting, delivered prematurely with cerebral palsy. Scheduled to be released this fall, Caruth is now speaking out from behind bars, taking responsibility for the crime and expressing desire to help take care of his son. The young man was raised by his grandmother. Caruth spoke with WBTV by phone.
I'm apologizing for the loss of her daughter. I'm apologizing for the impairment of my son. I feel responsible for everything that happened, and I just want her to know that truly I am sorry for everything.
Okay, so we just listened to the audio clip of Ray Caruth. And how did you feel about that? How did you connect on that this man is free? His son has cerebral palsy. Does he deserve, from your point of view, a second chance? Is he a hazard to the community at this point? Is he rehabilitated? Well, he's free no matter how we feel or think about it. So what we can focus on is our next person of interest. And this is Antonio Brown. Now, Antonio Brown has an upbringing that he felt he always had to prove himself. He always had to prove himself to be accepted. And I'd like you to listen to these audio clips in reference to his climb up, as well as in the beginning of our introduction of the interview in reference to the person talking to him. Do you think it was a hit that did this? I don't know. I'm not sure. And I know it's the interviewer's point of view to try to get you to say something, to get you to react. And you could hear almost even in the interview, this person trying to trigger something. Well, what's that mean? What's that mean?
Would you say that your life is out of control in any way?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
This could be something that this person has always gone through. Prove yourself. Well, tell me, what does that mean? What is your opinion? What is your feeling? Again, Sometimes we get questions and we don't know how to just respond right away. We have to process things. And I can tell you, dealing in my work with alpha types or someone who is considered a narcissist, one of the key things that I do, because sometimes a narcissist will admit it to challenge me to see how I respond, or sometimes they won't. But I use a formula so I don't have to make them feel I am at a higher standard. I want a person to know I am there for them and that I am their friend. So I give them a notebook and I have them write about how they feel about themselves and how they feel about how people see them. And this really helps me. And I don't have them take it home and do it. I have them write a page or a quarter page or anything I can get right in front of me. Even they go, I don't even know what to write. Write that. Because then I will do a handwriting analysis in reference to how they place their lettering, how they write, in reference to even writing that says a lot to me about how they identify themselves. But let's go ahead and listen to these segments in reference to Antonio Brown.
My dad was away. My mom had another husband, and that relationship with me didn't fine tune out really too well. And other kids, and as a teenager, I had to live with teammates and kind of find a way for myself. A 16-year-old don't understand that couldn't understand that you're born in the world with your parents, and the people who brought you in the world that abandon you. As a kid, you would never understand that, being that you're to your mind, you're just the perfect kid.
So you heard that segment. And here he is in a household. His mother remarries. He's a young man. And your world has already made shifts from your first, relationship with your actual father to your mother struggling to now here she is in another relationship. She's looking to connect, thinking of some form of stability in her life. But as he said, you think you grew up as the perfect kid, and all of a sudden you have different standards from someone else coming in your life. This next segment is going to now connect on how fame makes people shift. Here, I've always had to prove it myself as a young person. I had to do this. I had to get acceptance. I had to find ways to get acceptance. Do you see the pattern here? Well, now you're going to hear this interview of these two sports analysts in reference to one individual who actually was on the field with him and was an athlete with him before he became an analyst, and how he references how Antonio Brown's attitude on the team was in reference to he's the franchise and he needs to be treated in a certain way. So this tells me again another way of feeling significant. I'm finally somebody. I finally developed myself, and everybody needs to now connect on me. But if this is what you believe and if this is how you climb the ladder, this is what you learned along the way. Take a listen.
Quick story. Antonio Brown is walking past the weight room in training camp. And right now we hear that Mike Wallace has turned down his deal. Antonio's going into his third year. You hear that Mike Wallace has turned down his deal. And I knew already that they were going to offer Antonio. And he's walking past, and I turned to the strength coach and I say, when you give him money, you're going to create a monster. That day in practice, Antonio and I almost get into a fight because he's saying things to Coach LeBeau. He's screaming at Coach LeBeau, screaming at us defensively, don't touch me, I'm the franchise, this and that, because he already had that mindset. And now with success, with money, these things come.
Okay, so we heard this segment now. And again, are you starting to see a pattern? A pattern of, I want to be someone. I've always struggled. And is this a recurring theme in reference to athletes or all of us? I know, like I said, in the work I do, we have to pinpoint certain things. And I can tell you from my history of life, I didn't just wake up and I was in the lifestyle that I wanted to be in. I can relate to a lot of these struggles. I came from a family, we didn't have much at all. And I wanted to be significant. I wanted to be valued. And I found ways and did things that I could be valued. In the beginning, I never hurt anyone, but who knows if it could have happened that way, because I was associated with individuals that were considered someone that could be scary to someone else. And I was fortunate enough to connect in somehow, some way, some miracle, to find myself through other associations. And when I seen that, I wanted that. And I can tell you that when I found myself involved with people that were at a level that I admired, I seen this, I was like, wow, because I never learned this. I just learned and heard about the struggles that my family would say growing up as a kid. Oh, we don't have this and we don't have that. And you do believe, because when you are in an environment where you live, that people are in the same demographic and you don't know really outside until you finally venture out, you do believe that this is the status quo. And that's what happened to me until I went to work in an area in the restaurant business in a very elegant five-star restaurant, which would be considered a very expensive restaurant. And I'm starting to see a new pattern, a new lifestyle. And I was like, wow. And then I started associating with people that worked in the business and made money for college, just that. And I go, wow, your family is a lot different than mine. This world is a lot different. And I began to want it. And as I can tell you this, as that segment said, as Antonio became wealthier and more comfortable, he believed in hearing the praise that look at me, look at you, you're the best. It does go to your head. I have many clients in my youthful days. As I progressed, I found my way through martial arts, which also helped me in a sense when I was struggling in an area of life with my family. We had a gentleman that would come around and give free martial arts to the urban area. And I was fortunate enough that this person took me under his wing and brought me up in a way that I wasn't getting at home. And I was able to develop a standard that kept me away from elements and away from the curiosity or the ways to progress in life through the demographic that I was in. Not to say that everybody would have that. Maybe they would have found a different standard value, but for me, this was working. And it gave me goals to look for and admire, which from this person in martial arts to people I wanted to be like, to energy I wanted to attract. Now, unfortunately, even though Antonio was going through this, he didn't still have that role model. He still looked upon within himself. You just want something from me. You're just looking. It's basically what you can give me. Yeah, you're praising me, but this is all me, you see. And the one thing I will commend, not many people like Jerry Jones of the Dallas Cowboys, but he had a receiver that had a similar energy, a similar pattern in reference to Des Bryant. And he hired a team that when Dez would get himself into a problem, they were there to coach him and get him out of that area. And I do think that makes a significant role to have a support team with values that are going to keep you comfortable, keep you safe at the same time. And that's the key here. Antonio Brown, would he be a better person within himself? Not to say he's a terrible person, because I don't believe that. I just believe going through his PTSDs, he still doesn't know how to channel it. And now today, he has troubles once again. The latest trouble is he was in South Florida, I believe the Miami area, and wherever it was happening, there's allegations that there was a shooting or he held a gun opposed, according to someone, that he fired it twice. And now they're looking into it. Now, unfortunately, prison is rehabilitation. Is this what this person is going to need if these allegations come true? If these are actual, truthful allegations that Antonio was this, Antonio was that, and he shot the gun twice, and he should be arrested, and that's what's going to happen, but they're getting their facts. Again, Antonio says, this is what people do, though. They see me in an environment. They see me out there. And if there's trouble in that environment, because I was seen in the environment and I may have known a couple of the people, the players in that environment, not to say sport players, all of a sudden I am a target. And I'm sure this happens a lot. It has to be hard to go out there, no matter what your status is, when you reach a certain level, that you become a target, whether it's gold diggers, whether it's someone that just wants to get some money for you, extortion, whatever it may be, you become a target in reference to your status in life. And it doesn't mean even with wealth. You see people embezzled, older folks, you see Jordan Belford taking advantage of people. And I think that's the key word here, is being taking advantage and how your ego processes it. And that's why I always reference to people, look, utilize your resources of what's real to you, but also keep an open mind, because the important thing is when you keep it in your head, you're dead. When you write it, you invite it. I do believe these two things. So one of the key things, as I stated earlier, I always have my clients write down. I immediately, as soon as you come in, I give them a notebook. Some question it, some don't. I go, we're going to get to why you have that. And that's the focal point. And once they get comfortable coming to me with their notebook, I emphasize to them, now it's time to make that book part of your life, not just a binder. Okay, because remember the days in school, you had this binder, you just threw your notebook away. So I emphasize getting a hardcover journal and make that a part of you, because if you pay more for it, you're going to treat that book not just like a book, but an extension of you. Think about this. If you went and got a wallet or a purse and you paid a couple thousand opposed to something for $10, $15, and are you going to throw that $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 wallet or purse and let someone sit on it or just not care about it? No, that stated value to you. So I always reference that to a book. Get that book that is firm covered, make your notations, make your notes of how you feel, good, bad, or ugly, but always end your story in a positive way, because that will set your pace on you moving forward in life. And also, here's the key thing that I always reference to every client when they get their hardcover book. And sometimes I'll even have in my office on display. You can have one of these if it feels like it matches your personality traits. But I do want it to come from you. So I don't keep too many of those, because I want it to be an extension of you. So what I reference to is get a book that reference to you, but name the book. Why should I name the book? It's just a book. I go, that's the wrong attitude. That's an extension of you. And that makes me think, is that how you feel about you? I'm just a book? No, you're somebody. You want to have that feeling, that significance. And if you give something a name, guess what? It lives. There's a reason why in the court of law, they call you plaintiff, defendant. They don't want the jury to associate to a human being. Let's just give you the facts and you go over the facts in your mind. Is this person guilty or is this person not guilty? The reason why they do that is as soon as you see an individual, it's hard to convict them. So by they saying the defendant or so on, or who we're prosecuting, or is this person innocent, or is now the only person that becomes real is the person that went through pain. Take Cassie and Diddy. This person did this to Cassie. Now Cassie's real. Everybody can see Cassie because you gave her a title. You gave her a name. Give your book a name and it lives. You don't give your book a name, it's just a book, and that says a lot about how you feel about you. So again, reconnect yourself. Get yourself that book, you out there. So I hope you got a lot from this podcast. Very powerful in reference to not just athletes in the limelight and how we see them, but how you see yourself. How do you connect on your PTSDs? And again, who you associate with, where these individuals came from to get where they were, and then get affected by the limelight, and then move on to do things that maybe they shouldn't have done. So for Stewing the Pot, I do want to ask you one last thing before we go. If you can please, it means a lot to me. It helps the development of this podcast. If you can please like, subscribe, and share. And each time you see a video, if you could just like it, it means so much to myself and the growth of this podcast. But this is Greg Stewart with Stewing the Pot, and I look forward to seeing you on our next podcast. Until then, have a great day.